boxing Hall of Famer and Manny Pacquiao's biggest rival, Juan Manuel Marquez, picks Manny Pacquiao to beat Mario Barrios. Shocking to hear. Obviously, you'd think they're rivals. Maybe they have a little bit of bad blood. Marquez was, quote-unquote, robbed by Pacquiao in a few of those fights. You know, Pacquiao obviously getting stopped by Marquez. These guys have a great history, one of the best rivalries in the sport of boxing. But Marquez picks Pacquiao, and why does he do it? Pacquiao, obviously, 46 years old. Everyone's curious about whether or not he can pull it off. But what did Marquez say? Marquez said that Pacquiao's experience outweighs anything Barrios has, and that's why Mario Barrios is going to lose to Manny Pacquiao, according to Marquez. And you're talking about one of the best fighters of all time, in my opinion. I think Marquez is the best Mexican fighter in the history of the sport. I don't think it's Chavez. I don't think it's Canelo. I think it's Marquez, because who's gotten a win with the magnitude of knocking out a guy like Manny Pacquiao? Not just beating him, but putting him to sleep. No one's been able to do that, and he's had great, tremendous fights. Pacquiao had the most trouble with Marquez out of anybody else. Pacquiao fought a lot of guys, but prime versus prime, Pacquiao and Marquez gave us some of the greatest fights in the history of boxing. So for Marquez, who may know Pacquiao better than anybody in the sport of boxing when it comes to Pacquiao's opponents, for him to pick Pacquiao, Pacquiao's 46 years old, coming off a 4-year layoff, really means something. Marquez really believes that Pacquiao's that talented. He believes that Pacquiao's experience is superior to, like I said, anything that Mario Barrios has to offer. I mean, I keep telling you guys, like, Pacquiao's team isn't dumb. They understand what Pacquiao can do, and they pick Mario Barrios for a reason. I think Freddie Roach was telling me about, I don't want to give away their game plan, but when I visited the Wildcard Gym, you guys are seeing all this, the Pacquiao videos on this channel. Check it out if you haven't. It's a lot of good content for you guys. I got to visit Manny Pacquiao, sit down with him at his apartment room, and so, all that content, make sure you guys check it out if you haven't already. But back to what I was saying, I kind of know what they plan to do because they keep talking about it. I'm Filipino, so I understand Tagalog. I understand what they're saying. But, the gist of it is that they're going to rely on Manny Pacquiao's speed and his movement. The movement is key because Barrios doesn't have the best feet in the world. And I feel like, Pacquiao has some of the best footwork, even at his age. I understand that this isn't the Pacquiao that was, fighting Morales or Margarito or fighting Marquez or, even later in his career, fighting against like Chris Algieri, Brandon Rios, all those guys. But the thing is that even when Pacquiao isn't the best version of himself, he's still a lot faster and a lot more skilled than a lot of boxers today. That's just facts. Like, there's an anomaly to every situation, and Pacquiao's that guy. Like, there's an exception in the sport of boxing, and Pacquiao's one of those fighters. That's just how it is. Sometimes he doesn't have to be the prime version of Manny Pacquiao. He might still be able to do it, even though he's slowed down a bit. He's 46 now, but he has the experience, like Marquez said. So I wouldn't be too surprised if Pacquiao pulls this one off, because Barrios, obviously, he hasn't made 147 in a while. I know Pacquiao hasn't either, but Pacquiao's a small guy compared to Mario Barrios. Manny Pacquiao's 5'5.5", and you got a guy like Mario Barrios at a towering 6 feet tall. So obviously Mario Barrios has the height advantage, but if anybody knows boxing, they know that Mario Barrios doesn't utilize his height advantage. If anything, he utilizes the reach a little bit, but for the most part, he's a hunched down fighter, doesn't have a lot of head movement, and his feet aren't the best. So I don't think Pacquiao has to be prime Pacquiao to beat a guy like Mario Barrios. He just has to have moments, do what Pacquiao does best towards the latter end of the career, where, he fought Keith Thurman. Obviously that was a big win. I think that was one of the best wins we've ever seen from him, because no one was expecting that. A relatively in his prime Keith Thurman, for Pacquiao to drop him, hurt him with a body shot, and beat him by decision. That was tremendous to see. So, I'm not saying that Pacquiao is the Pacquiao that was 26 years old, beating all these guys, going on a crazy run through multiple weight classes. I'm not saying that, but I am saying that he doesn't have to be that guy to beat Mario Barrios. With all due respect to Mario Barrios, I like Mario Barrios. He's a good dude, but he's not the best welterweight in the world. So that's why I think it's an even fight. The only reason this is an even fight is because Pacquiao's 46. If we're talking 10 years ago, Mario Barrios doesn't stand a chance. And I mean that with all the utmost respect in the world. But Pacquiao and Barrios, you put them, resume, accomplishment, skill for skill, Mario Barrios isn't even in the category as Pacquiao is. I feel like Pacquiao the only reason this fight is even happening is because Pacquiao's 46 and he wants to test himself. Can I beat this young guy even at my age? So I feel like Pacquiao has a chance at this. You know, he could definitely pull it off, but he has to have the, you know, a great night of boxing. He has to feel good and be able to pull it off. And, you know, I think he can do it. So we'll see what happens. I'm going with Pacquiao by any means necessary. Could even get the knockout. We'll see what happens. But let me know in the comments down below. Make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe. And I will catch you guys on the next Navs boxing video. Peace.